Win in real estate and in life with the 5 generational wealth pillars. Today's special guest is Bruno Winning Nascimento. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, we want to have some fun today. Let me tell y'all something, man. So Bruno has been with us for a very long time. Welcome to the show, guys. We're going to be talking about so much stuff today. Number one, first and foremost, happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
How does 50 feel?
I mean, turning 25 never felt better.
Marines always lying about their age and stuff like that. Look, I'm okay with the blonde in my beard, but we got a lot of stuff to unpack. First and foremost, I want to say, number one, congratulations to new baby. Okay. Number two, congratulations on new home. We haven't even talked about that on the podcast. And then number three, broker's license. And then now I am proud to announce, y'all, that the Liberty Group and Cardone Veterans Group and Military Mortgage Group has partnered with Pacific Homefront Property Management. Guys, put a 2 in the chat, guys, if you guys are excited. I got a lot of stuff to unpack, bro. First and foremost, what made you get into real estate? I want to know what was the compensating factor that made you get into the real estate industry?
So, I mean, for me, it was my personal experiences. So it was the things that I went through, and then going through the ups and the downs and the goods and the bads that made me realize, like, oh man, there's more to be done, not just for myself, but it's one of the things, man. If you learn something and you pick up on something, and if you benefit from it, what are ways that you can kind of pay that forward? Mm-hmm. So that's what led to me getting into the real estate industry.
Now, I want to go back. Is it okay for me to back all the way up?
Yeah.
For young Nascimento, Dade County Nascimento, right? Where were you born?
So I was born in Brazil, São Paulo, and moved out to Miami when I was about 7 years old.
Okay. So, and you moved with your mother?
Mm-hmm. My mom and my dad.
Okay. All right. So now, fast forward. What made you get into the Marine Corps? Because you have a military background.
Yeah. So it was, I think it was a thing that the recruiter said. So, like the recruiters that tell you a bunch of things, right? The one thing that kind of stuck with me that he said, out of the many things he said, it was like, hey, you know what? Eventually the birds have to leave the nest to go start their own nest. Mm-hmm. So that right there was the thing that resonated with me. So when I left the recruiter's office, I'm like, oh man, like it's time for me to start my own stuff. And I wanted to just alleviate the burden of people having to take care of me and look out for me and things like that.
Okay. So you joined the Marine Corps and you're a pretty decorated Marine. Okay. You've done some combat tours. Where were they at?
So Iraq and Afghanistan and supporting of OEF down in the Philippines too.
Okay. All right. So What did you learn from those experiences with being a combat vet and a Marine Corps drill instructor? Your left shoulder, hoops. All right. What did you learn from your time on deployment, the Marine Corps, and as a drill instructor that you translate into business?
You know what? It's selflessness. It's doing the things to always be able to give back, right? Give back, and I think that it was those experiences that have kind of help me be successful in this space, right? You figure the life expectancy of somebody in real estate is what, like 2 years?
Yep.
Right?
100%. Yeah.
So I mean, everybody gets licensed. It's easy to do, right? But then it's once people kind of hit the road and they start seeing that it's not as easy as they thought, because selling Sunset, they make it seem as if this thing is easy peasy, and it was that, man, is, what I mean? It's just understanding bigger purpose, right? And realizing that I have a way to be able to give back and serve, and just selflessness, and learning that in combat has definitely transitioned over just to making things work in the business space.
Is there anything notable about your military career that you would like to highlight that was a challenge?
You know what? I had a lot of challenges while I was active. A lot. And but I think that instead of kind of going through everything, right? Because, man, it's 20 years worth of challenges. I can sum it all up and kind of saying this. It's the Marine Corps helped me understand how to overcome adversity and really overcome it in the sense of, um, man, just knowing that everybody goes through things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you can only kind of, it's okay to go through things. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel down. It's okay to, experience all the emotions and the, emotional rainbow, right? But it's one of those, like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like, you know what, like, it's okay to be down, but you can't stay down. So adapt and overcome. So that's really the thing that the Marine Corps really kind of, instilled in me is one is being just ingenuitive, you know what I mean? And two, being able to adapt and overcome and not succumbing to the victim mentality. Things happen to you, but man, things happen to everybody.
That's a fact. Yeah, I believe that things happen for you, not to you, and
Absolutely.
that's a definitely a good mentality to have. Now, Bruno becomes a senior enlisted person in the Marine Corps. You were at MCRD San Diego. Now, I know down there, attention to detail is very, very important. How does attention to detail translate into you starting your Pacific Homefront business?
So, I mean, for me, I think that the attention to detail that the Marine Corps teaches, and then also, when you go do your B billet, being a drill instructor, it's what gives me my competitive advantage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Over everybody else. So it's like, what is it that makes me stand out? I'll tell you, man, it's specifically that attention to detail. So if essentially you take things that you learn and then you just find a way to kind of tie that in. And I think that everybody who served in the military, gosh, man, I'm telling you, if you did well in the military, business is right up your alley, even if you don't know it. Because, like, the military, the Marine Corps, whatever, they teach you how to just be successful citizens, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but that's for me what it was. It was taking that attention to detail, and then the attention to detail is what ultimately helps me have that competitive advantage.
Okay, so now, Bruno, when did you decide to get your real estate license and why? And here's another question. I'm gonna compound that question. How many veterans have you helped invest in real estate?
So I started my journey like 2 years before I even got my license. And it was just me kind of kicking the can down the road, saying I'm gonna do it. Shout out to Anthony Shanette, right? That was a homie,
T-Cat.
that hit me up and said, "Hey dog, you need to take these classes."
Arr, arr,
Right.
arr. If y'all don't know T-Cat, he sounds like DMX. We always tease him that. But shout
Yeah.
out to Anthony Shanette, man. Very, very good dude. Somebody you definitely want to know in the Corps.
Yeah, and then he put me on, and he was like talking about real estate and everything else, and becoming licensed. So I started my real estate journey before I got licensed, and it was just me going through my own personal experience of buying a home. You know what I mean? Seeing my brother Wilson make a whole bunch of money off of a purchase that he had, and then using that as the motivation for me to be like, oh man, hold on a second, man. Like, I was a gunny, he was a sergeant, and he's out here winning, and I'm like, what am I doing? So then that got me started in real estate. And then my experience in me purchasing and selling is what led to me saying, you know what, hold on a second. I think there's more here. And it was using my personal experience to say, okay, I why don't more people know about this? And it was one of those, like, why is it that I just found out about it? Why? And again, like, at the time, Anthony Glenn wasn't going out to like every single base like that, right? So
Mhm.
there was no veteran homeowners club with a mission on like educating people on it.
Mhm.
So my experience, man, it came from Google, right? This is pre-Chat GPT day, guys. Like, so it came me just like Googling my life away to figure things out, like getting tidbit pieces. And so then that's what led me to doing that. And then, gosh, man, like, how many people have I helped? I mean, over 200 families. Like, I don't even have a number. And that's why, I mean, like, people are so, like, people focus on their numbers. Like, I couldn't tell you how many, because I'm just out here trying to get it, man.
Slanging deals, dog. Out here slanging deals. And this is the reason why I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is the reason why it's important to align with people with the same ideas, because it's cringy to me. I'm gonna go ahead. Can I call it out, Bruno?
Hey,
Hey guys, it's
speak the truth.
cringy.
Speak the truth, man.
It's cringy when you put your GCI, your gross commission. Nobody cares. It only translates to real estate professionals, guys. Okay. What are you doing for that first time home buyer? How are you helping out those service members or non-service members get the best deal? And a lot of y'all out here in the real estate industry are focusing on the money instead of the people. Now, and this is a testament of why, you know, Bruno and I align so much is because I'm ebony and he is ivory. Okay. We get mistaken for each other. You know, I have a little bit more tan than he does. But the biggest thing that I definitely like is that Bruno will fight tooth and nail for 50 damn dollars for a client.
I
I have
sure will.
seen it with my own freaking eyes. Now I do have a question. Your first deal and your hardest deal. Go.
So my first deal was in Menifee, Victor Cisneros, right? Cisco, my
Cisco,
guy.
I know Cisneros.
Man,
Yeah.
super good dude, amazing family, beautiful kids. And my most challenging deal, oh my gosh, man. Oh, well, my
He
most
said,
challenging,
"Oh, give us the tea,
the
sir."
most challenging one was a creative financing deal um, that I helped people purchase a home subject to.
Oh, subject to financing. Can
That
you
one was
explain what that
difficult.
is? That's going to be a good little segment here. Explain subject to and how it works.
Yeah. So what it is, it's when a person buys property, but they don't assume the loan, meaning that the seller keeps the loan in their name. The property gets deeded to the person that's purchasing, and then they enter into an agreement with the seller to say, hey, look, you keep the financing in your name. I'm going to make the payments to your lender on your behalf,
Mm-hmm.
but I have ownership of the property. So it's, and we say it's creative financing because it's so out of the norm because, we're used to, if I give you the house, you take the financing and everything that goes with it. So it works, but it is definitely more challenging than what a lot of people understand. And I've done this a few times, but there was one in particular that was extra challenging.
Come on, man. Give us a tea. Man, come on. Why is he? Bruno, stop tap dancing, man. This is the winning podcast. We got to let the people know what was hardest about the deal is, Jack.
Yeah, so I'll tell you. Okay, so the part that was difficult about that type of transaction is that it's for us, and I'll serve this as a reminder to people that are in the real estate industry. For us, it's easy for us to conceptualize what we just explained.
Mm-hmm.
So even people that are watching this now, right? Like some people will have heard what I said to Anthony Glenn. You're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. To somebody who doesn't deal with this on a day-to-day, they're like, but what do you mean? That doesn't make sense. Like, why would somebody sell a property and keep the loan in their name? And so I think that was the challenge, is getting both parties to understand that was what was in their best interest,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was significantly harder for me as a real estate professional to kind of navigate through that space, right? Most other agents would have been like washing their hands, like, nope, nah, that's it. Because it's, people want to be on this, like, people want to do this whole thing where it's, transactional,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is not the case.
And then, so we have a couple of questions. Okay, what if the seller dies?
So if the seller dies, right, then it's really you have to look at how you structure that land contract, right? Because it'll have provisions in there that address that. So it's all going to be based off of how it is that you structure the deal. But that's part of the challenges of that type of transaction, right? And it's figuring that out because it's like you're talking about. There's like attorneys involved. It's an attorney that types up what's called the all-inclusive trust deed. So it's challenging to kind of get everybody on the same page to kind of understand. But to answer that question directly, right? It's going to be based off of however that land contract is structured. So whatever the provision in there is how you would kind of go about that.
And then in addition to that, one thing that Bruno and I do with the veteran wealth formula is that we talk about how to structure that deal so you can avoid probate. So ultimately, to answer that question on a subject to deal or anything else, the person who is making the payments on behalf, remember that the deed is transferred to the new owner. So essentially, what could happen is that person can do a revocable or irrevocable trust, so that property is now in the name of the only thing that's in the name of the actual seller is the actual note,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the ownership of the property transfers to the new beneficiary, and that's how we answer that question. Now,
Yeah.
I have another question. Okay, you have seen a lot of people come and go. Okay, like what made your decision? What was your main decision to continue to partner with the Liberty Group and then also Cardone Veterans Group as an executive, and then now launching your Homefront business?
I mean, it's the vision, man. Seeing the bigger picture, and understanding it. It's I'll go back to what you mentioned in the beginning, right? It's aligning yourself with people that kind of share the same vision as you, right? And the reason why I think you and I get along so well, uh, you know, Ian and I get along so well, and it's just because we share the same vision, like big picture wise, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of work. But you know what, man? It's one of those, like, it would be easier to do things a little bit different sometimes. But it's like, man, what's the fun in that shit? Seriously, it's
Yeah.
one of the things, man, where it's like, I mean, think about it, right? Like anything that's been worth it for. I mean, I haven't had not one victory that didn't have, a significant amount of just like grinding away. And so it's like, I see that there is something way, way bigger here. And mind you, man, this was like pre Grant Cardone,
Yes.
so like there was stuff where, like I wouldn't have fathomed us partnering with Grant,
Me neither, man.
you
It's
know,
crazy.
like who knows, like no clue that would ever come about. Um, but I couldn't have pinpointed that it was going to be our partnership with Grant Cardone, but I knew that something big was going to happen for us because of the reasons on why we do things.
That
It's
that's good.
inevitable.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. When you do good long enough, eventually the universe will show up and paint that picture for you. And I want to ask you some hard questions. Now,
Yeah, bring it. Bring it.
can we get into the hard questions, man? Because
Let's
I'm asking the
go.
soft questions now. All right. What do you hate about real estate? What is one thing, if you wish that you could take away in the real estate industry, from an investor to a business owner to a licensed real estate broker, a graduating from a realtor? What is one thing that you absolutely despise about this industry?
It's hands down the uncertainty, right? Which is crazy because it's also what I love. So what I love and what I hate, it's like they're like right here with each other. It's the uncertainty of where is the next deal going to come from,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's that feeling of like, oh man, you're under contract. Heck yeah, you're like high, right? Like you're
Mm-hmm.
like at the high, and then it's like, cool, everything is going good. The clear to close comes in, and you're like, yes, clear to close. We're gonna, cross the finish line. But then you're like, oh man, but then when this one closes, oh shoot, where's the next one? So then it's like, as much as I'd love to hear clear to close, I hate hearing it because now I'm like, I need to get more transactions in escrow. So it's the uncertainty of where the deal is going to come from because shoot, man, like, it's there is no guarantee.
Yeah.
The first and the 15th mean absolutely nothing. Whereas in the Marine Corps, we were used to this, to the stability being comfortable. The first and 15th are getting paid, cha-ching, and that hits. So in real estate, it's nothing is promised, right? You can have a transaction, you could be going at it, and then it'll fall through and cancel.
Oh, and that's another part too. I want to tell y'all clients, all right? I want to be straight up with you. Don't go out, all right, to Temu and get that llama cover couch and finance at 19% 3 days before you close. There's so much that can happen in a deal, man, that like a lot of people think that, listen, guys, we are not your enemy. real estate I know that the real estate industry is under attack with real estate professionals, but one thing that I can say is that we are not your enemy. Now, another question that I have is what are some crazy things that clients have done? Okay, you can give us the names too if you like, because I want to get to T. What are some crazy things that clients have done that has prevented you or slowed you down from doing your job?
Oh my gosh. So I've had folks, well, one, do exactly what you said, right? Where it's like we kind of brief them and we walk them through like what not to do as you're going through the transaction. Don't do this. Don't change your financial position. And we've had clients who have done absolutely that, right? They've bought a car, they've financed other stuff. I've had a client that's left their job mid-transaction where it's like, bro, you just left your job? Like you quit? It's like, yeah, man, I'm done. I'm moving on to bigger and better with this house. And it's like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, so that one, we ended up having to talk them into getting hired again. They quit and we talked them to getting hired back.
At the same company?
In the same company. Because I'm like, bro, listen.
How the hell did you do that?
Listen, man, because it was me trying to get them, trying to get through to them to understand, like, hey, listen, it's the saying that we got, right? Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, man, I get it that you hate this job. How long have you worked there? Cool. Look, you need to be employed before they do another verification of employment right before we close. Because if they go verify your employment and you're not employed, the loan will not get approved. They're like, wait, what? But we already pulled my credit. I'm like, yes, we pulled your credit, but they're still going to have to verify that you're still employed. So it was that, right? It's me convincing the client to find a way to smooth over the employer so that they can get hired back. Because then now that way, it won't show any sort of like, oh, they're starting over because they're right back. So that I think was the hands down the craziest thing that someone's done mid deal for sure, hands down.
Okay, and then what advice would you give if you could go back and if you could put one thing for real estate investors to do in today's market, okay, or any other market, what would be that number one thing Bruno tells them to do to prepare themselves to be an investor?
Underwrite. Understand the power of underwriting something, right? So we're not talking about, so there's underwriting when we're talking about the loan itself, but it's the underwriting that every investor should do. So who is an investor? Anybody who's buying any sort of real estate. Mm-hmm. If you go into it looking at it from the same view, the same lens as an investor does, because think about it, investors only do things that make sense financially. The numbers have to align, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do all of that up front, you will prevent from being put in the position to where some people are like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Like, yeah, you don't have a crystal ball. But what you can do is you can lay out all the pieces and then come up with contingency plans, right? Crunch the numbers, look at the equity position, what's the appreciation that the property has year over year, so historical data, right? So just things like that, man. And I think that right there is hands down the most valuable advice that I can give that like you cannot skip is you have to underwrite that transaction, that deal early on, right from the beginning. And then, I mean, if it does better than what you expected, well, surprise, right? And if it doesn't, it's okay because the way that you went through the underwriting, you were conservative, you thought through things, and then, you won't get put in a position. I mean, that's what ultimately led to me opening this company to begin with. It was giving people options.
Oh, I love that because now we're going to talk about this big ass house that you just bought that I saw with my own eyes. Okay, so you were able to buy a $1.6 million estate on 30 acres of land with horses and steers and giraffe and all types of other stuff. Now he was scared. It was scary, but ultimately he got it done. What made you buy that property, and can you walk us through that deal?
Yeah, so I mean, it was me doing exactly what I just said about the underwriting. it was me doing that in advance, where it just got to a point where I'm like, man, like it would be crazy for me to miss out on this opportunity. You know what I mean? And it was, man, I'm telling you, it was doing all these things that I'm talking about and sticking to it and saying, you know what, like, you know what, all right, hey, the rates are what they are. Let me do a refi out of my VA just to restore my entitlement, because you just never know.
Oh, can
Right?
we talk about that?
Yeah.
Guys, I want to talk about that. We're going to break down this deal. I want you guys to leave your comments below, down at the bottom. We're going to break down this deal. Okay, so several acres of land. Okay, you had already used your VA home loan entitlement. What advice would you give veterans on active duty about their VA loan entitlement, and tell us how that property led to you buying multiple properties? Can you talk about
Yeah.
that?
So I owned the property in Marietta. I used my VA home loan for the rates got really, really low, down to 2.25%, the
Mm-hmm.
lowest rates that we'll probably ever see in our lifetime. So I had it in that, and then the rates, they were still super low, and I'm like, okay, man, I have a lot of equity in the property, so I'm like, let me just refi it into a conventional, so I can free up my entitlement to begin with.
Well, what is equity?
So the equity is the difference between what my loan balance is and the value of the property. So what is a property worth and how much do I owe on it? Everything in between the two, that's equity. So everything in between that space. So the property that I had, it had, man, over $400,000 of equity, right? So I bought it 2018. This is 2022. So it was only, you know what I mean, like years later. So it wasn't even very long. So I had so much equity in it that I'm like, okay, well, for that, I can pull some money out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I did a cash out. But the cash out that I did is a little bit different than some of the stuff we talk about, right? So everyone, we talk about the VA loan cash out that allows you to take out 100% of the equity. I didn't need to go that route because the rates were already low enough. So what I did was I did a cash out, but I did a cash out into a conventional loan because the rate was still low. So I got a low conventional rate.
Mm-hmm.
Then I took cash out for me to be able to have capital money in my hand, right? I freed up my entitlement at the same time.
Can we talk about that real
Yeah.
quick? I want to break this down for you guys so you guys don't miss this. This is very critical. Don't do any shady stuff. This is legal what he's telling you to do. He freed up his VA home loan benefit. Can you walk us step by step on do's and do nots of that process? Because there's a lot of people that are on TikTok, Instagram, Christian Mingles telling people just free up your VA and then go use it again. Can you walk us
Yes.
through how you legally done that?
Yeah. So for me to get that favorable interest rate with a conventional loan, I had to do what was called it was an owner occupied primary residence type thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the rates were low and favorable because I was using that property as a primary residence.
Mm-hmm.
But now VA, there is no time restriction on how long you have to live in the property
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for you to be able to qualify for the VA, or how long that property has to be your primary residence. VA, that's not a thing. Conventional, there absolutely is. And it was you reminding me about the experiences that you had, right? When someone came knocking on your door, like, hey, Tony, so this home that you got, man, can you pay this off in 30 days? Right. So it was you going through that and you telling me that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So let me go ahead and just, free this up. I don't intend on moving or doing anything. So I made sure to stay in that house for a year. Right. So
Okay.
I lived in the house for a year. It was in a conventional. I took out $100,000. Right. And even though I had over $400,000 of equity, I still wanted to make sure, right, that I had, over 20% of equity left,
Why?
because that would prevent me from having to pay private mortgage insurance. Because remember, it was conventional. So a
Mm.
conventional, if you don't have 20% of equity, then now you're paying an additional insurance, because the VA, right, replaces that, right? But now if we're going into the conventional world, right, it's the private mortgage insurance. So my hack around that was, okay, let me pull money out, but now, let me not pull out too much money, because one, I don't need it. Two, my mortgage is going to go up, and I understand it, but it's okay, because what is the average market rent for my property? So as long as my mortgage didn't go above that average market rent, I'm good, because I can take the money out. I use that money to go buy more properties.
Okay, so now I want to talk about this so you guys are clear. Step one, he bought with his initial VA,
Yep.
right? Step two, he did a cash out refinance and left 20% to avoid PMI, which is a reoccurring fee, okay, on the loan. So do you know how much money you would have paid extra if you would have taken more out?
Um,
Probably around
I mean,
400,
it would, it
400
would,
bucks, somewhere around there.
it would depend how much, you know what I mean? Because like it's calculated based off of how much equity or the shortage of equity, right? So I mean, it
Okay.
could have been an extra 400 or 500 bucks maybe.
And then you took the money out of the property and then you bought land.
Yeah. So I bought 1.6 acres in Temecula, and then we were going to go through a VA one-time closed construction loan.
Okay. So then after that, you were about to do the VA one-time closed construction loan, but you decided to find the estate that you have now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what made you make that decision from doing the VA construction loan and then buying that property? And how did you find it?
So it was the cost of things, right? It was the cost, but really it was the opportunity that presented itself,
Okay.
right? And that's the thing that I'll tell everybody who's watching, man. It's like set yourself up to leverage opportunities. So like if an opportunity presents itself and then you try to get ready, you're too late.
Yeah, that's true.
You are late. You have to always be in the position to be able to leverage opportunities as they present itself. So in this case, we were going through the process. We were going through permitting. I had approvals from the city already to do all sorts of things. And we were like tens of thousands of dollars deep into it, man. And then that property came up where it was, the property had been foreclosed on before, and then it was for sale at an auction. So typically, whenever you buy properties that are being sold at an auction, they typically want you to buy cash.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. So majority of times, and that's where a lot of people, when you're watching, they're like, oh, well, everybody wants to do like the thing that sounds all cool and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But they don't understand the intricacies behind it. So it's like, yeah, buying a property at an auction is amazing, right? Because it sounds like it's a great deal. They think it's the same thing as going to the store and going over to like the clearance rack.
I know, or being in that place with that 49, 50, 59, 50, 59, so nah, it ain't like that, Jack. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah. So, so a lot of times those types of properties, they require for you to buy it cash.
Mm-hmm.
What was unique about this one, it was beyond everything else, right? So now you're talking, the property was already built. Yep. Right. So I was hoping to build, a custom home on 1.6 acres. This property was already built, right? And it was sitting on 5 acres. The property that we were looking at building, it was going to be like about 5,300 square feet, right? This property is almost 7,000 square feet on 5 acres.
In California, by the way,
in
guys.
California, like right by wine country, so it was one of those, like everything about it. It was one of those where like, kind of like with the rates, right? I knew that the interest rates were low enough that if there was ever a time for me to refinance to free up my entitlement, it was going to be then, because I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, I was most likely never going to see rates that low again. Mm-hmm. For this property, when I saw that deal, I'm like, ain't no way that I'm going to find a property that will, one, allow me to finance it, which was already out of the norm.
Yep.
Two, the property was vacant, right? I mean, they had some squatters and stuff like that, and the cops had to get rid of them and stuff.
Yep.
But the property was vacant. So then now I was able to see the property even before I closed, right? Again, when you're looking at buying properties at auctions, a majority of times, right, you buy it as is, sight unseen. Mm-hmm. And there's people living in it. So you take on everything. You take the burden of having to evict the people that are there, fixing whatever is wrong. You know what I mean? People already losing their house. So they become, spiteful, man. They start like, breaking things on purpose, because they're like, well, if I'm not going to have it, I don't want anybody else to have it, in good shape. So this one, man, I was able to see the property, everything was already built. The property was vacant, but most importantly, it was allowing me to be able to use financing for it.
And what do you think why do you think that the sellers actually, the auction people, what were some of the things that you did right? And what were some of the things that you could have done better in that deal?
So the things that I did right was, and this is crazy, right? So check this out. So the seller was a bank, mm-hmm. right? It was a really, really, really big bank, right? Mm-hmm. The DBA everybody knows about, right? B of A, right?
America of banketh.
Right? But the LLC is a different name, right?
Uh-huh,
So the LLC, so you won't ever know who it really is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really big bank, man. And check this out. When I submitted my offer, bro, I submitted an offer VA, and then they said, "Hell no." So they rejected my offer, and you know why? The reason for them to reject it?
Why?
Because it was a VA loan.
So you had to. So basically, this is look, guys. You got to understand how crazy this is. So now, what do you think he did? He was able to sell because he was a VA loan expert of why his offer was strong. Correct?
Yes. So I actually got told off, man. Like the other agent like almost cussed me out, right? And he was like, "Bruno, look." So I'm over here talking about, doing my whole senior drill instructor smooth over game. I'm like, "Man, but look, let me tell you about my experience." And I'm over here telling him on why this and this. He's like, "Bruno, stop." Right? He's like, "Listen, man, check it out." He's like, "Let me tell you who the seller actually is." And then that's when he told me the name of the bank. I'm like, "Oh." He's like, "Look, man, like they do more transactions in 1 week than you and I will ever do in our lifetime." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Bottom line, they don't care about this VA stuff." And the answer is no. So I was like, "Oh, shit. Okay, well, let's get creative." So I said, "Cool. You know what, man? I'm out here. Listen, and I don't want to burn bridges here. So look, for the real estate professionals, I still need you to accept my offers. But I had to ultimately do an okie doke, man. I had
to go around.
You know what I mean? And I had to go and, we submitted a conventional offer, right? So now I had to show that I was able to qualify for a conventional loan. We went through it. We started going through it. And then mid-transaction, I switched it up on them.
Brilliant.
And they were like, they were up in arms. Like, "What are you doing?"
Too late.
Right? And I'm like, "Look, just trust me." Seriously. And then it boiled down to me and the other agent where I'm like, "I just need you to trust me that I can make this work." And she was like, "There's no way," right? Because the appraisal, right? So again, this property was at an auction. So there were things that were wrong with the property. There were things that they were like, "Oh no, because the appraiser." And I'm like, "Listen, I deal with this on a regular basis.
I got it."
And then you know what? I actually had to do it. So I went to the property, right? Mind you, I'm the buyer, man. I show up to the property, the appraiser's there. So now I am showing comps and everything as if I was the listing agent.
Mm-hmm.
So then the appraiser is like, he's talking to me and stuff like that. And then he like looks at my car. And at the time I had, my name on the side of the car.
Nascimento big as hell on the side. Hold on here.
So then he's looking at my name. He's looking at the contract. He's like, "Wait, are you the buyer?" I'm like, yeah, but don't worry about that. I'm also the agent representing myself, right? They're like, "Oh, what?" So bottom line, man, I had to, sell the appraiser and everything else. And we spoke and just like how I anticipated, it was good, man. And then what was crazy? The appraisal came back higher than what we were under contract for.
Now, this goes to be a learning experience. Sometimes, I'm going to tell y'all like this. Sometimes the people that are supposed to help you be in the way, right? So I've had many scenarios to where people would say that they will be a bridge builder or a connector, and they were actually the one that was blocking my promotion.
Yeah.
So sometimes, guys, if somebody's telling you not to invest or things in that nature, you got to look, ultimately the goal is there. It might take you a little longer to get there, but I'm going to tell you, this is a perfect example because how much equity do you have in that property today?
Over $1 million. And I've only owned it for like 2.5, 3 years.
Okay. Tell me a job right now that's paying $500,000 a year that you don't have to do nothing for, right? This is where generational wealth is built, okay? But it's culminating. It's not just the equity position. It's also the ability of him to be able to take that equity out 210 days after the first mortgage payment, and now he can repeat what he did with the first initial property. Now, I have a couple of other questions for you, brother. Now, Bruno gets his broker's license. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And then now let's get into becoming, you already had Making Homeowners Corporation, right? How hard was it to get into property management, and why are you doing it?
So, man, property management was it's incredibly difficult space to break into, and majority of agents they look at property management as if it's the plague. They want nothing to do with it, right? And now I see why. It's because it is super challenging. There's like the all the regulations for it are super strict, but the guidance to make sure that you're able to do things the right way is almost non-existent. Like the people at the associations don't know, the people at the Department of Real Estate don't know, the attorneys over at Car Legal don't know. It's like stuff where you're like, it's pulling things out of thin air and to make happen. But to answer your question, like why is it that we did it? You know what, man? Because military families need it. Like military families deserve to not be stuck with the option of, man, you know what? I have to sell my property. So I think that everything that we talk about and we tell people the power of you building generational wealth, right? Is you go, you buy property, it's the long game. It's the buy and hold strategy that's worked for so long, man. And military families have a unique opportunity to be able to do that because they move so often. So, I came up with a way where I'm like, man, what better way for me to serve them than creating this 360 experience, right? Where it's like, hey, you know what? Like, I can talk to you about real estate investment strategies. I can help you find a property. I will teach you how to underwrite it and look at the big picture. And then when it's time for you to move, I can talk to you about options instead of you having to sell it. How can you keep the property so you can continue to build equity in the property?
And then most people who buy property, usually military people, they're afraid to rent. There's pros and cons to everything, guys.
Yeah.
Right. So ultimately, if you want to sell and get your money, yes, do your cash out, go ahead and free up your VA, buy another property. Right. But then ultimately, there's another decision. Okay. You can't get the tax benefits if you don't keep the property. Okay. What are some of the tax benefits of actually keeping the property, like depreciation and things of that nature, that you would advise people on with actually holding on to the property out here in California?
Well, one, I mean, so tax strategy, like you mentioned, there's depreciation that you can leverage. You have expenses that you can write off, right? So obviously, most people are already familiar with writing off the mortgage interest that you have, right? But what they don't know is that you have other expenses, the operating costs for the property, right? So the management fee that you pay us, the repairs that you make on the property, everything else, all those are things that you can now write off, right? So from a tax strategy point, you have that, right? You do a cost segregation study that it will help for you to be able to do the whole depreciation and a few other things. But that's that. But the big picture, man, it's being able to have something that somebody else is paying off or paying down. So that loan that you have, even though it's in your name, somebody else is living in there, but they're the ones that are paying that off. So now, just like we talked about initially, we said, you have your balance that's being paid every month. So what you owe goes down and the value of the property will continue to go up. So all that in between the equity position is that part above everything else is what I think is a real big play. Everyone talks about cash flow. Cash flow is good and it's important, but the equity position, man, it's like you said, it all the time, like you're not going to save your way to $1 million.
No.
But the equity position from this property that we just went over that I bought at an auction, you know what I mean? Like, so we close in the end of 22 and here we are, mid 2025 and we have over $1 million of equity in the property now. Like
You can't beat
unheard
that.
of. You can't.
And here's another thing too that I want to share with you guys. Okay. And I want y'all to think about this. For those of you that are out here in Southern California, anywhere in California, Pacific Homefront can manage your property. Here's what I want to say to you guys. Okay. Property management companies haven't been in sales, and people get into property management so they can get the listings. Okay. Bruno is a real estate broker. He's a real estate investor. He's an educator. Okay. And then also he's an entrepreneur. So before you guys pick a property management company, please listen to me. Okay. You might want to interview them on their experience with what you're trying to do, because all they care about is getting your property so they can get that little passive income from managing your property. And the fundamental difference between us and everybody else is that we are investors and we're licensed brokers. Okay. That's the big picture. Ask questions. What questions would you tell people to ask and when they're shopping around? And what makes your property management company different besides the things that I just talked about? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so it's going to be the experience, right, that they have, right? Not just with the property management company, but the experience that they have in the other spaces as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's, so a lot of companies, they only focus on property management, so they can't give you any advice when it comes to, hey man, is it a good time for me to sell the property or not, right? So the thing that we do, that we offer to the people that we service, is like, look man, like, while you own the property, here we are to be able to give you some advice and then give you strategies and talk about what the game plan is going to be for your investment long term, right? Where, and sometimes it's one of those like, hey, you know what, like, I know you want to sell the property, brother. It's probably not a good time for you to sell it right now.
Oh, I have a real time experience with this. Okay, I have a property right now that was sold. Okay, but the property, the buyers had actually bought the property. And they only had it for 2 years. So you know what Bruno did? He managed the property. He put tenants in there for a year,
A year.
1 year, in order for them to get more equity position. And guess what? I did not have to call Bruno back. Bruno called me up and said, "Yo, they want to sell the property." And I think that's what makes him, I'm going to highlight this. He's probably not going to talk about it, but that's one thing that makes him unique in nature, is that if you are a realtor out there and you refer business to him, even though he's a broker, he has a contract, a unique contract outside of every other property management company, that he's going to send back that business to you. And that is integrity-based business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that right there, man, is getting people to understand, right? It's the reason why I got into real estate to begin with, right? It's to help, it's to help others and kind of give back, right? So if I have the opportunity of helping you as a real estate professional, right? So one, you help me by sending me the business, right? So I want to reciprocate that back, and that's where it's one of those, like, they're your clients. I'm just servicing them, right? So all the advice and everything else that I give them throughout the time that they're owning the property, right? I'm ultimately priming them so that if they decide that they do want to sell, right, I want them to go back to you. Because again, what I never want to do is I never want to burn any bridges, right? So what good would that do for me to go and then take one sale, but then burn a bridge between you and I, to where now you're like, man, I'm not sending people over there to Bruno, right? And it's the thing of understanding that, like, to me, that is what partnerships really kind of, are based off of, is trust, integrity, and having people that actually follow through with what they're saying.
Yes. And then I have a couple of more questions. I'm sorry I'm beating you up, man.
Let's go. Let's bring it.
It's fantastic. So what advice would you give people that are looking to get into property management? Because you're hiring, right?
I am now. Whether you're looking to get hired, that's different. I don't know, man, because it is not for the weak,
Yes.
right? But it's also why I got into the space, right? So the thing that I think that made me successful in the military was my ability to problem solve, right? I think the thing that makes me stand out as a real estate professional is my ability to problem solve. So then I said, you know what, screw it, man. Let's double down and take on all these problems that nobody wants to solve. And so the thing that I would tell, anybody who's looking at getting into the space is, like, one, reevaluate it to make sure that you really want to get into it, right? So for that, you have to know you have to know the good and the bad that kind of come with it. And I'll say for sure, so the money isn't as promising as they may be. So your why, on the reason for you doing it, has to be really, really strong. The money will come, but it's your why has to be really, really strong. In this case for me, it's, we started with focusing on military families. Now, we obviously serve, everybody. So now we say we service military families and military supporters, right? But it's understanding that this thing is not for the weak, man. It's challenging, it's difficult, but it's worth it.
And who are the biggest components of helping you formulate that business? Because I know that Jess Nascimento works in the business. Shout out to my sister. Okay, like what was the hardest part about building out that team, and how are you? The number one thing, I'm gonna put you under the bus, man. I'm gonna throw you under the bus, Jack. All right. How are you finding the contractors and stuff? How are you building out your team? Because I think that's one of the hardest parts to figure out, is like, how are you getting your team together? Because I know a lot of your connections come from working in the real estate industry and
Exactly.
relationships. But can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so it's, one is leveraging personal experiences too, right? So one, it's contractors that I've used in the past, right, for just regular real estate sale transactions, and then that right there, man, like it'll make it to where you can find people that, I mean, contractors are incredibly hard. Good contractors are incredibly hard to find, right? But so then once you do find them, how do you leverage? How do you keep the relationship? So that's how I was able to kind of like work through that space, is taking like my previous experience, right? And like we talked about in the veteran wealth formula, when we go and we start talking about how to vet contractors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am a magnet for bad contractors, right? But I have them come and do the bad work on my property first for me to say, okay, time out. Nope, this is not a person that I will work with. And now it gives me, a better vetting process, because I can go through my personal experience to say, okay, well, what are ways for me to kind of identify some of these things ahead of time so it's not a problem?
And here's another thing too that I would definitely say in complementary to that is that when you guys are looking, like I saw Bruno do some work on his property, and it was a look. He hated it, and then he got it done right the second time. And this is what we prevent, guys. When you
Mm-hmm.
guys are getting out here doing stuff, sometimes the least expensive is not always the best.
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay.
Say that twice for the people in the back.
So when people are telling you, oh, I could do this at a discounted price or something like that, and you guys are focusing on the price versus the value, right? This is one thing that I'm going to tell you, man. If a person is willing to discount themselves, how do you believe they're going to negotiate for you?
Mhm.
I mean, it's common sense, right? So now what do you see Pacific Homefront? What direction do you see? What's the vision of that company for in the next 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I think the vision I have, man, is I want to be, essentially a household name, right? Where when people start thinking about, one, I do want to break the, kind of break the cycle where people feel as if like it's a revolving door of like, it's I buy the property, I get orders, I sell the property, and that's it. And then they're doing that
Mhm.
multiple times over. It's like, nah, man, like what I want to do is I want people to kind of leverage it to say, okay, hey, you get stationed in Camp Pendleton, boom, buy a property, right? Keep it. You got orders to Camp Lejeune, okay, cool. Like you go to Camp Lejeune, buy a property over there too, keep that one. Then you come back to Camp Pendleton, cool. Like you want to go buy a property somewhere else, you buy another property, and then you keep it. So then essentially, man, it's like, how can you generate cash flow that will supplement your lifestyle later on, right? So, a mistake that I made, again, a lot of the things on why I do things, it's because of my previous experiences, and it's the mistakes that I've made that kind of shape how I do things now. Had I had a property management company, back in 2018 when I sold a property in Vista, I made $80,000. But you know what? Like that was a huge mistake. That property today, right? Had I kept it and I was renting that property out, the passive income that would come from that property would be almost the same as my retirement pension is today as a retired gunnery
Gee
sergeant.
whiz, man. It's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
It is crazy. And then I think this is the reason why I feel like this is why it was a no-brainer for me to bring you onto the our podcast, even though you're one of the hosts. Is I wanted to interview you because I think people are looking at it. They're not looking at it from a they're looking at it vertically versus horizontally, which means that you
Yeah.
have options. And when you have options, then you can make the best decision with the information that you have. But that's one thing that I think that we all pride ourselves off of is that, you know, balance.
Yeah.
And even myself, I will call Bruno, and Bruno would say, "Hey, man, don't say that. Don't do that. That doesn't look right. Or maybe you need to look at it like this." And this is why you got to be in circles with people that are doing better than you, right, at certain aspects of life and business, so you can grow within their leadership and tutelage as well.
Yeah. Big
So
time.
I definitely want to say I appreciate for you for just being present and who you are, and I'm excited about how all of our realtors. Okay, we have a vertically integrated company. Okay, so look how easy it is to partner with people that you know, like, and trust. why wouldn't we send property management business to Bruno's company when he works with us already?
Yeah.
It's easy, right? So can you talk about vertical integration and then how making homeowners is now complementary to the business?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that right there is the thing that a lot of people aren't able to kind of put together, right? It is figuring out, man, like everyone wants to start their own stuff and everything, but it's like, hey, if you're able to leverage what you already have going on right now, it'll put you in a really advantageous position. So in this case, it made sense, for us to go and say, okay, well, let's create a property management company that will supplement the business that we already have, right? And then how can we offer additional service, right, to the people that we service now? Right. So that's where it's understanding that. So the vertical integration is one of those where it's like, like we mentioned, it's like if we can help somebody buy a home, right, and then we have a company that can help them give the options of not having to sell. And then, if it can support our agents, we're now like, we are keeping everything internal and organic to us. So if they're going to want to sell the property, right? And real estate agents get busy, man. You know what I mean? It's just the nature of it. But it's like if you have somebody that can help you stay top of mind with your client, right? Because I'm talking to them about real estate, and I'm still bringing your name up as their realtor because you are their realtor for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just additional services that we can kind of provide to the people that are already in our sphere, in our network. Um, and I think that's the beauty of building something around what you already have going on. Everyone thinks that you have to like break off and start this whole new venture where it's like, man, like you can, like in the Marine Corps, they say bloom where you're planted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, if you want to do some more stuff, man, like you don't have to leave to go do other stuff. Find ways to build your own thing within your own space. And then like if you can do it and you can help other people in the process, come on, man. That's easy.
Yes, and then I know you got to get going, so I have a couple of more questions for you. What is the hardest part about entrepreneurship, and what advice would you tell Bruno
Mm-hmm.
the first year in? Well, let's go back. Entrepreneurship in the military. What advice would you give people running the business in the military before they get out?
That it's going to be significantly harder than what you think it's going to be. Like you think it's going to be hard. You're not right. It's going to be harder than that. So whatever it is that you think that you're taking on, you're taking on more. So you know what? Like just brace for impact, buddy.
I'm gonna tell y'all, man. Bruno was slinging houses, man. He's like, another escrow open. I'm like, bro, you can chill, man. You got like 90 deals in the pipeline, bro. But I'm gonna tell you, it is scary. I've seen so many people go through this. If you have a business, make it about the people over the profit, and you'll never, ever, ever have to worry about where your next meal is gonna come from because you're doing it for the right reasons. Okay.
Big time.
That's the advice that I would give you guys. If you're trying to start any kind of company, build it around helping and solving a problem. Pacific Homefront, what it does is it solves the problems for vets. It helps people identify, okay, now that I have the ability to either sell my property and then, oh, guess what? I have a property management company that has business acumen. Okay. Isn't that phenomenal and outstanding, guys? Like, having that person that's going to be able to say, hey, I got it. You don't have to do nothing. You can go PCS, and then now you have the ability to do what you need to do. Any closing remarks, and how can people reach out to you in regard to property Pacific Homefront?
Yeah, so you guys can find us at pacifichomefront.com, right? And I think it's just understanding everything that Tony just said. It's hey man, we are here to service you, right? We're here to problem solve as you get ready to PCS and transition and do whatever it is you got going on, right? We know the experiences that you're going through because we have been in your shoes. We know how stressful having to PCS, having to do so with a family, having to do so with challenges that the military, is still presenting your way. So only because you have PCS orders doesn't mean that the workload gets any easier, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're able to help you focus on the things that matter: your family, your transition, your relocation, and doing all that finding the tenant, screening the tenant, worrying about maintenance and all that stuff. You know what? Like, that's what we're here for. Like Tony said, we are here to solve problems for you. So PacificHomefront.com is where you guys can get in contact with us. And, we just look forward to being able to support your vision to continue to build generational wealth.
And also, guys, Making Homeowners is where you can track his progress on social media. Here's the deal, guys. This is the homie. We were just out drinking non-alcoholic beverages in Old Town. Okay. And I'm sick. If y'all can't tell my voice, I'm like, hello, guys. How are you doing? That's because we were all the way turned up, brothers and sisters, this weekend. But again, brother, I'm proud to witness the future go-to property management company for transitioning service members in Southern California. But we need your help, guys. PacificHomefront.com or Making Homeowners on all social media platforms. Let's get the word out. Look up the Google profile. Show some love. All of that stuff's going to be set up. And the thing that I would tell you guys about starting any company, the most important thing is what problem that you solve and making sure that your admin is in place so you can grow to scale. Okay. Any parting remarks? Anything else?
I just, as always, brother, I appreciate the platform. I appreciate the space, sharing your time. A lot of these things that I've done, I couldn't have done it without having solid, sound advice, having friends that you can lean on, man. So I tell you, like, you really should, reassess and evaluate your circle, man. And if you don't have people that can elevate you, right? People that, it's seeing your homie do well when you say, man, you know what, man, my brother's he's killing it in this space. Like, it's contagious.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's contagious to see your friends win, man. And it's one of those where it's like, you just want to win with them. So, with that being said, brother, I thank you. I appreciate, the time, the space, and the mentorship, because, man, without you, without Ian, without, my wife, the family, and the people that are close, man, none of this would have been possible.
And without Gabe. Shout out to Gabe, always asking me for, s'mores. He's like, Uncle Tony. He's like, and then he's like, you got any s'mores? So I got you, Gabe. But I definitely want to say, guys, if you guys enjoyed the podcast today, the Winning Podcast, like and share this information so we can get the word out. We are coming to a theater near you. Okay. We have a lot of stuff going on, guys. We got VA loan masterclasses. We have a veteran wealth formula where we teach you about the 5 generational generational wealth pillars. We also have opportunity for you guys to learn about marketing. If you're trying to start a business and you don't know where to start as an active duty or a military spouse, or even anyone that has never served before, we're on an intimate mission to help more veterans get into entrepreneurship through real estate, through generational wealth pillars. And how you can find me is TonyGlennII.com. All of my social media platforms are there. And guys, if you guys want to register or connect with Bruno also, and you want to get with him to buy or sell a property, text WIN to 760-573-2731. Again, that's WIN to 760-573-2731. We're hiring. We're looking for a few good real estate professionals that want to support military, and a few good real estate professionals that want to get into property management. Veteran or non-veteran, what we're looking for is people who want to help people. So, guys, we're trying to make this thing. We will be national. This will be huge, guys. So if you want to be a part of it while you're trying to build the Lamborghini, well, you can partner with somebody who already built one. Okay. So we have property management, mortgages, TC company, all of that stuff. We're looking for people just like you to where you can help us accomplish our mission in property management and real estate and business. Okay. So again, TonyGlennII.com, 760-573-2731. Win in real estate out. And guys, let me tell you what else we're going to be doing. We're dropping the Taste of Temecula. That's our job, where we get to go around and taste wine and give you guys the wineries that support veterans out here in Temecula. So make sure you look at some of our content and share it with your friends. And guys, we are out. We'll see you next time. Peace.